Hello and welcome to another episode of the S Una Final podcast. We are back with the original crew. I have here with myself, Charlie and Michael. Both of you guys, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. I think it's been a while. Three of us have gathered together on an episode, but it's really very. I'm very happy to have you guys back on. And today we are going to do a bit of a mixed bag episode. We're going to review some of the games from the last match day and also preview Real Madrid Osasuna very briefly. I've actually lost track which match day it is because I think like different teams are on different match day at this point, isn't it?
Yes, I think we're
Yeah.
going into 11 if I'm not sure. But I mean,
All right.
we had like 11 today and then 10 yesterday. It's all jumbled up. They're all got games going up against each other. It's
Yeah,
not good.
just when you thought that La Liga couldn't be any more like Messi, it is. Like Messi, Lionel Messi is gone, but his name remains. All right, so we're primarily going to focus on four games from the past match day, starting with the Athletic Club Villarreal game, then moving on to Sevilla-Levante, then of course the Clasico, and finishing up with Atletico Madrid versus La Real. So I'll start with Michael today. Michael, Athletic Bilbao finally handed something to Villarreal that was seeming difficult. Villarreal were for the largest stretch of the season, they were the unbeaten side in La Liga, and very impressive up until this point, but they fell to the home side at San Mamés. Your picks from this game, or just your general review of this game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you've got to be really impressed with Athletic. They obviously San Mamés is a bit of a cathedral. It's not quite the old stadium, but in terms of intimidating atmospheres, it's got to be up there. And Villarreal really showed Villarreal just couldn't get into the game at all. And this kind of, for me, just kind of eats into this, not eats into this trend, but it's more of the trend of Athletic just looking very good under Marcelino. I think obviously it's only been 10 games or 9. Athletic have only played 9 games actually. I think they played their 10th today. So not taking into account that game, but I think their XG per 90, expected goal difference per 90 is something like 0.64, like plus 0.64, that's pretty good. Obviously, absolutely minuscule sample size, but that's pretty good. And they beat a good Villarreal side who have struggled this season. 5 draws is not promising at all. In comparison, Villarreal's expected goal difference per 90 is just above 1. It's 0.05. So you kind of see the contrast there, which is quite revealing. And I thought someone who I just wanted to pick out was a real captain's performance by Iker Muniain. I thought he was just really impressive. He's really thriving on the left side of the midfield four. He kind of often finds himself drifting in and around the penalty box with the left fullback Yuri kind of holding the width for Athletic. 11 shot creating actions. I had to check that was correct when I saw it. Obviously, it's just one game. 8 progressive passes, 12 progressive carries. This was a real performance from him. And usually when captains play well, the teams play well, and that was very much the case for Athletic.
Right, Michael. Thanks for that, Charlie. What I want to bring up to you about this game. So Villarreal have had about 61%, close to 61% possession throughout the season on average. But in this game, they even like dropped below 50. I think they had something around 48, if I'm not wrong. So how do you see Athletic dominating possession in this game?
Well, I think it's just more about how Villarreal were just so disrupted in this match between Gerard Moreno getting injured early in the first half. That just completely upset their rhythm and upset their entire game plan, because we all know that Unai Emery is he's scouting his opponents. He sets up his side exactly how he wants it to try and exploit his opponent's weaknesses. And when you have your talisman get taken out early in the first half, that just upsets the entire rhythm. And like Michael said, Athletic are just such a great side at controlling the game. They can press high. And when you get players like Iker Muniain and Inaki Williams going off on that left-hand side, which is normally Villarreal, like down their right, are very, very solid defensively with guys like Juan Foyt and Francis Coquelin and you get Etienne Capoue drifting off of that right side occasionally. They're usually very solid down there, but that's where we saw Villarreal concede their first goal to Raul Garcia on a playoff from Inaki Williams, I believe. So yes, Villarreal. I mean, you can't really expect them to hold too much possession in a match like this when they're just so disrupted. You have to bring on Yeremy Pino you brought on Samu Chukwueze for Gerard Moreno and move Yeremy Pino up top, which completely upsets the rhythm because I personally believe that Pino is better on the wing than he is up top. And when you play without a traditional kind of striker like that, it totally upsets the rhythm and totally upsets what they can do and possess the ball in the final third. So yeah, I think that's just the biggest issue. I mean, and then you obviously get the penalty late on. That has nothing to do with the possession, but I mean, it's just spelling so many errors and just I don't want to say the luck going against Villarreal, but I mean, in this game, pretty much everything that could have gone wrong for him did. And that's just unfortunate for him because they've really struggled this season, but they've also been pretty solid defensively for where their offense has been unable to finish. And today, against Athletic Club, we saw guys like Alberto Moreno just make a key error in conceding the penalty late on, and that just lost them the match.
Right. All right. That's pretty much all we had for the Athletic Club Villarreal game. Villarreal tasting defeat finally, but we're going to move into probably the most interesting game that has happened this match day, an absolute bloodbath, an 8-goal thriller, and even the 8 goals dispersed evenly among the two halves, with 4 goals coming from both teams in each half. We're talking about Sevilla versus Levante, of course, at Sevilla. So this game was crazy enough in itself. We will obviously get deep into that, but what I want to start with Michael about is, so Jose Luis Morales, you just can't keep this guy out of the big games in La Liga, can you, Michael?
Yeah, a double against Sevilla. I thought, for all Levante have been pretty, not awful, but they just haven't been very good this season. This was kind of like an old Levante performance, as if Paco Lopez was back in the dugout. They're kind of going all out against Sevilla, and I thought they competed very well. And as usual, El Comandante is pretty key to that. He got his double, and Sevilla looked kind of disrupted by him, and it wasn't the usual kind of incredibly controlled Sevilla performance that we've seen over the past few weeks. We've seen a lot of 1-0s, Sevilla holding the ball very well, but they just couldn't do that against Levante, which I thought was testament to Levante and how well they competed. And to be honest, I've more than thought Levante deserved to draw this game. So it's kind of, maybe it's a bit too much to say they deserved to draw, but definitely could have seen them drawing. And once again, Morales is testament to that, his amazing performance.
All right. Charlie, your thoughts on the Sevilla game?
This game contains some really, really incredible goals. I mean, Oliver Torres' opener, the volley coming from the corner, just absolutely incredible. Jose Luis Morales' first goal, I believe, is just outside the penalty area. Absolute laser into the top of the net. The Munir goal late on in the match from way outside the penalty area. It was a low-driven kind of shot from way out. You don't see that every day. You don't see it every couple weeks. I mean, this is a ton of fun match. I don't think we're going to get another high-scoring game like this, like another 8-goal thriller again in La Liga, because we usually get about 1 per season. I'm very sad to see that it happened on this day, the same as El Clasico and La Real Atletico, because, I mean, that's just 3 amazing games all in one day, and it's, you kind of want to space them out a little bit. You don't want to spend all your fill in one day. But, I mean, like Michael said, I think Levante definitely deserved to draw this match. And also, like you said, this really felt like a Paco Lopez performance. And that's awesome because I really miss him, and I don't think they should have sacked him. But that's a whole nother thing for another day. But yes, they definitely did. And I mean, Sevilla scored some pretty crazy goals that they probably shouldn't have. Had Aitor made a couple better saves and had, like, Oliver Torres not gotten so free on the corner kick and hit that volley absolutely perfectly, they absolutely did deserve to draw this. It wasn't a good performance, obviously, defensively from either side. But, I mean, who cares when you're putting in 8-goal thrillers? I mean, it's just fun at times. You don't have to worry about the defensive quality. You just got to sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, and Sevilla at this point does scare me a little bit. Not a little bit actually, but
No,
quite a
yeah,
bit. Quite a bit.
rightfully so.
Quite a bit. They have even like for the goal differential, they're above Atletico Madrid, the champions, and they're neck and neck. Not neck and neck. They're basically equal with Real Madrid with points. Whenever I see the La Liga point table right now, Real Madrid having more goals than anyone even remotely close to them, that really satisfies me a lot because it's been a while I've seen that kind of stuff. And defensively, also like Madrid haven't done like it. They haven't done as bad as it seems because of like some frantic moments. But Sevilla are a real threat at this point. Did any of us have Sevilla at in our top 3 in our predictions? I don't think so.
I had them
Yeah.
top 4, but I don't.
No.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I had Villarreal at 4, so they're at 12th right now. They're not doing any justice to my predictions. And also like Granada putting my football analysis career in shambles.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to the big one now. El Clasico. It was like nothing different from the last 3 El Clasicos before it. Real Madrid won, but obviously, I think both teams had done certain things really well in this game, and both teams did not do certain things really well. Charlie and I were just talking about Barcelona's press before we got online, that especially in the first half, before Real Madrid could get the opener, Barcelona's press was pretty decent, and they even created the first chance of the game, that big chance Serginho Dest missed from like pretty much point blank range. Like Ronald Koeman said in the post match press conference, this game could have gone either ways if that had gone in from Serginho Dest. And but like credit to Real Madrid, these games as fans, obviously we go into these games thinking that Real Madrid should win with a big margin, and they could have even probably, but no complaints about the results. I'll begin with Charlie for this one. Charlie, any quick thoughts about the Clasico?
Yeah, I don't think Barcelona deserved to lose this match, and that's coming from a Real Madrid fan saying that. Their press was absolutely. I'll say it. Their press was very, very good in the first half. They did exactly what they needed to do. They disrupted Lucas Vazquez and Casemiro, who are both major liabilities on the ball from like the defensive third. They created enough chances. I mean, like you said, the Serginho Dest chance was fantastic. David Alba had a couple of very key blocks inside the penalty area. They certainly created the chances to score and win this game. And like the David Alba goal is a fantastic goal, but I mean that's a bit of a fluke, I would say. I mean, you're not going to get stuff like that every game. That wasn't it wasn't a massive chance. I mean, he's going to score that or even get in that position once every season, maybe. I mean, Real Madrid didn't do anything on the offensive side to outright win this game. Their defensive work was admirable. I will give them credit. They have really shored up this defense in the past couple of weeks. It's been very good. David Alba and Eder Militao and Ferland Mendy have pretty much they've saved this club's season. I mean, so I don't think Barcelona deserved to lose, but I'll always take it. And Real Madrid, like you said, it was scrappy, and that's what you need in these big games sometimes. Sometimes you can't just beat them with quality, and you got to just see out the win, grab a goal and pack it in, and just try and defend for your lives and grab the win. And I mean, that's what they did. So credit to them for it.
Yep. And I think like this game had a billing that this could have been a better game, but in the end, probably even the scoreline suggests that it ended up as being a bit bland. Again, no complaints. We got the 3 points. That's all we needed. But Michael, if I'm probably going to come up with a different question to you, is that if you had to rate top 3 moments from this not so top Clasico, what would those be?
That's a tough one.
I think you got to say Dest chance, surely. It's got to be up there because that's a key moment. You know, if that goes in, it's a different game. I think Real Madrid's first goal as well, because that kind of sets the tone. You almost see kind of Real Madrid retreating back into their shell after that. I think Charlie's right to point out that it isn't really like a repeatable chance. Like Alaba's not going to be in that position again. So it's not the greatest indicator of like that Real Madrid deserve to score, but it happens. Sometimes the ball just lands at you like that, and sometimes Alaba's in the position and he does run the full length of the field. So got to give credit to him. I'm struggling to call out a third. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
The third.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say the third probably, that if you guys remember, so Modric played this outrageous outside of the foot pass inside the box, bypassing, I think, Eric Garcia to Benzema on the volley, and like Benzema played it into Ter Stegen's hands. Like if that would have gone in, that's like, I think the Camp Nou crowd just leaves the stadium at that point if that goes in. But I mean, Benzema is due some bad days for what he has already done this season. It's completely fine. He wasn't even at his physical 100%, but like he just had to play this game. But and probably like when you see the replays, you understand that there wasn't much time to hit that either. He had to hit it first time. But if that goes in, I think that would have been an absolutely devastating goal. What about you, Charlie?
My third moment would probably be Gerard Piqué on the Real Madrid second goal when he was in Real Madrid's penalty area throwing a little hissy fit.
Nice.
That brought a little joy to my heart. Maybe even more so than winning the match, because as Barcelona fans, I'm sure hate Sergio Ramos and probably hate half the Real Madrid team. I don't hate much of Barcelona's squad. I mean, you do have to respect them for the players that they are. Piqué is one of those guys that really grinds my gears. I don't like the way he like acts and talks on and sometimes off the pitch as well. So it was nice to see him a tad frustrated at the end of the match there with, I don't want to say like the referee decisions going against Barcelona, because Real Madrid has certainly had their fair share of refereeing decisions go for them. But with the way Piqué has always complained about the referees, it felt nice, and I will not complain.
Very sassy. Very sassy.
Last season, I think after winning the game at the Di Stefano, Modric actually like even told Piqué that, are you going to complain to the referee now about something? And he just lost it. Piqué was like, what? No.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like some of the things that happen, like, Jordi Alba is like one of those characters. Again, like I'll never be able to like him in any capacity. He was like arguing with Vinicius and like trying to taunt him, like throw hands at his face or something. I mean, like this guy's like probably close to the age of your eldest child or something. Like the age difference between Vinicius and Jordi Alba. Like Rodrigo's father is literally Modric's age. That's why like Modric calls Rodrigo calls Modric dad. So so like don't do this with kids. It's just not right, I think. Even like what I would say, Charlie and I were just talking about this too. Like there is an instance where Piqué was saying something to Vinicius with an arm over his shoulder, and then Casemiro comes up and this lifts that Piqué arm and like separates them. But even though I would like say that Piqué, since he is more of a public figure, he has certain like business related things as well in the footballing and sporting world. That is probably how Piqué would talk to a young player. But Jordi Alba is just something like different. He was doing something different with Vinicius, which I didn't like. but Vinicius was like also a different beast in this game. I don't remember a player in a Clasico who didn't score a goal, but he just made the entire Camp Nou so unhappy. They were mad at him for the entire game. Even when he was going off, he was taking the most like ridiculously slow walk back to the Real Madrid dugout and like talking to the crowd the whole time. And even when Lucas Vazquez scored, I think he was celebrating pretty wildly. So Vinicius was having the time of his life in this game.
Yeah, I feel like there's something significant in that as well, because I think it was Sid Lowe said that there wasn't a kind of a fiery attitude to this El Clasico because
Mhm.
obviously with Ramos going, there's no figure of hate for Real
Mhm.
Madrid, and the fact that Vinicius has kind of assumed that role. I'm not trying to say he has Ramos' stature, but he's playing really well. He's having
Mhm.
a really good season. He had a really good game today. Poor
Mhm.
Mingueza had to get subbed off early because he just couldn't deal with the pace, and Barca's high line was a lethal combination with Vinicius.
Yeah, and even the penalty shout that we were mentioning, what he did in that like 10-15 seconds, that can really break the morale of an entire defensive lineup. Like they just can't, like, he's here, he's not here. They just
Yeah.
couldn't see him in that sequence. All right. So our last game for our preview section today is obviously Atletico Madrid versus La Real. And just when I thought I could not dislike Luis Suarez anymore, he came up with another Luis Suarez-esque performance. La Real 2-0 up, and then Suarez just basically, like breaks their hearts all by himself. On this one, I'll start with Michael. Please walk us through.
Yeah, he does nothing all game, but he's there on the end of chances and takes penalties. It seems like an apt summary. I think he's literally about to get subbed off before he scores, or Simeone is preparing a substitution that he scores. This happened against Itafe. It happened against Milan in the 97th minute. It's almost like Atletico riding their luck at this point, a bit like they were last season. But yeah, it's almost inevitable. But to maybe draw on to a more kind of serious point, I feel like La Real, they had a really good start to this game. I heard something about how Imanol, first 5 minutes, he just kind of threw out a random formation to throw off Atletico. And it kind of worked, they get the early goal. And then they played this kind of 5-back, which obviously is not their natural formation, but it's kind of come out of their massive injury crisis. And they've really stood up against Atletico. And don't want to say it was a kind of top 4 performance. Like they've really competed with Atletico and Simeone kind of resorted to just throwing on every attacker as he usually does. So then by the time it got to the 85th, 70th minute or whatever, 80th minute, Atletico kind of had this weird morph formation, which, maybe isn't that significant, but I think it shows the kind of panic that Simeone was brought to by La Real just being so solid. They were just really good. Atletico, apart from the penalty, there was a few here and there chances, but I thought a draw was very much apt, and La Real just really good.
All right, Charlie. So La Real is obviously sitting at the top of La Liga right now. How long do you see them sustaining this form or position? Is this a false position for you, or do you think there is substance in believing that they can actually sustain this to something significant this season? And by significant, I don't necessarily mean the La Liga title, but perhaps a Champions League spot.
I want to say yes, because given I'm not a La Real fan, I want them to win the title this year. They are my flat out pick. I want to see it. I would love to see a non-top 3 team in La Liga win the title. That'd be amazing. Just especially for the year now that Messi, Ronaldo, all these guys are now gone. It would be absolutely incredible. Do I think it'll happen? No. I think they will drop out probably in January. I think they'll drop out of the top 4. I don't think they have the depth to keep this going. Their starting 11 is very, very good. But once you start losing players, I think they've dropped quite a bit. I mean, like, obviously, they're missing Mikel Oyarzabal and Portu came on late on in the match. Those two are great substitutions. Adnan Wanese as well. But I think out of the back, I think that's where their real issues are. Because they've got Lenormand, Zubeldia, Elustando. Those 3 are great center back options. But aside from that, I mean, like, obviously they did play the 5 at the back. I don't know what else they have in defense. If one of those guys gets injured or fatigue as the season gets on, obviously they are playing so many games at the moment. It is absolutely incredible. That's a whole different issue to get into. But I mean, this in the past or in this current stretch of like 5 days, the teams are all going to be playing twice. And that's just absolutely insane. And for a squad like La Real that isn't super deep, and they do play a pretty active style of football, I think that they're going to drop out due to fatigue, injuries, and I really hope they have the mental capacity to keep their form up, but I just don't know, especially what we've seen with the past couple seasons where they do get out ahead and then they seem to crumble. I don't know if Mikel Oyarzabal can kind of keep him on track this season if he can keep up his goal scoring form and maybe bag in a couple more penalties than he has been to try and get them over that line, because that's something that we do see down the stretch, something that really comes into a factor. But yeah, I really hope they can keep going, but I just don't see it happening. I think that they're really building towards something, and if they can add those one or two more players, if they can add a rotation center back to their squad and maybe a rotation fullback as well, I think they could really have what it takes to actively compete for the top four. Because right now, if the season ended in January, I'd say absolutely they're nailed on for Champions League, but I just can't see it happening. I'm sure Barcelona will turn it on at some point. Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, they're not going to stop. And Sevilla is obviously fantastic as well this season. I think I don't think your top four is going to be changing that much, and I think La Real will have a very easy grip on fifth place, though. That's my call.
All right, and that makes me think that we definitely got to do another predictions. I think mid-season in January, and yeah, perhaps I will have Granada a bit lower than 8 in that phase. Michael, anything to add to Charlie's comments on La Real?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I thought Charlie did a really good job there. I think he's definitely right to draw upon the kind of lack of squad depth, and the Europa League is going to be such a big deal for them. With the congested fixtures, and everyone knows how congested it is right now. The only thing I might say is something that might be in their favour is the strong link between their B team and their first team. A lot of these B team players, they're very technically proficient. They're very good on the ball. Obviously, they're young and they're not fragile, but you can quite clearly see they're young. So maybe the step up to Primera is going to be difficult. But I think if you ever had to have a team who had to rely upon B team players to help their team, probably the best team, other than Barcelona maybe, is probably La Real, given how strong their density is there. And, for Xabi Alonso might be annoyed that Imanol's stealing half of his players. I'm sure he understands, given the quality of their team. They're not sitting around in Segunda. They're a good squad. And I think that could be a positive. I think it's something, even before this season, before bringing all the new debutants, there's still a squad that is made up, 70% of it is academy graduate. I think it's something like, of all the players that have featured this season, 17 from the academy, which is just ridiculous. You think about it, I can't think of a team. Obviously, there's going to be someone who's going to point it up in the top 5 leagues who has that higher proportion. Even Barcelona aren't looking at that level. So I think that could be possible. But I still would side with Charlie. But to play devil's advocate, the link with the B team and the whole feel around the club is very unified. Everyone's rowing in the same direction. That could help them, and it definitely will. But I don't think it'll countervail against the massive fixture congestion, basically.
Right. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up our preview section of today's pod. We'll briefly go into Real Madrid Osasuna. That is going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, from the perspective of when we are recording this. When you'll be listening to this, the game is probably just a few hours away. Again, I'll start with Charlie on this one. Charlie, so Marca has predicted a lineup for tomorrow's game. I'll read it out.
Okay.
You'll be surprised what the
I'm
lineup
sure.
Marca is. Yes. So it's Thibaut Courtois in goal, Lucas Vazquez in right back, Militao and Alaba center backs, Mendy at left back, Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric in midfield, Rodrigo, Benzema, and Vinicius up top. I'm like, your mind is probably blown at this point.
Genuinely, I am actually shocked, because I thought they'd be predicting quite a bit of rotation for this match. Because I don't know whatever source it was, but they said there were going to be some rotations, especially with Luka Jovic coming in for Benzema, because God knows he needs a rest. But I have no idea what to expect from the lineup in this match. It could be rotations, it could not be. I genuinely don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what they put out. I personally hope they rotate. One, because the starters need it, and two, because I love rotation matches. I love seeing other players get time and just quirky lineups that you don't usually see. I live for that. I don't know. It's just a little thing. So yeah, I hope we see a bunch of rotations for a multitude of reasons, but I don't anticipate it happening. I would go with the Marco lineup. I think that's what we'll probably end up seeing.
Yeah, and before going to Michael about a bit of Osasuna discussion as well, just want to point out that I would probably like obviously rotations are necessary at this stage of the season, but I would probably save some of them for the next 3 games because undermining Osasuna would definitely not be a good idea. And we have seen this from Real Madrid so many times that they win a Clasico, they get a little bit of comfortable, and they just like downright lose the next game. We've seen this like so many times. So just to probably keep the momentum up, probably not too many rotations, but again, like I can see like Ancelotti making no rotations at all as well because he like Benzema and Courtois trained with the team today. There was a very strong, suggestion that Lunin should start this game. Courtois needs a rest too. Like he's basically injured at this point, but he trained with the team as well. Fede Valverde is definitely out. So we'll even from a substitution point of view, I think either Asensio or Camavinga will get those minutes in the second half anyway. But I do agree on the fact that Karim Benzema really needs a rest, and not necessarily for Luka Jovic to come in for him. The Belgian winger can play as center forward. Or even as a false nine. Rodrigo can play as a striker if needed. I don't know when was the last time Luka Jovic played a minute for Real Madrid, so just throwing him in front of a pretty decent Osasuna side, probably Ancelotti might not be completely comfortable with that, but my hunch is probably he goes with the same 11 again. Carvajal might start in place of Lucas, who knows. Michael, any thoughts on the Madrid Osasuna game, especially on Osasuna?
Yeah, sure. I think I'll cover Osasuna. I think the fact that obviously I don't want to read too much into Barca, but maybe the fact that they're just predicting a strong lineup, we shouldn't downplay how good Osasuna have been this season. I think they're one of the teams. Before the season started, a lot of people were looking at them thinking, this is a team that's clearly improved their starting 11 with signing Kike. We haven't seen too much of Kike, Budimir, and Chimi together, just because Chimi's injury and etc. etc. But I think they've been very impressive. I think they're still unbeaten. Well, they're still 100% record away from home. They are playing Real Madrid in Madrid. Some things happen on Mediterranean nights, but we'll see. They've just been very impressive in general. They've just been, in terms of the identity is so clear. It's almost kind of ridiculous under Arrasate. They're very much about early crosses. Getting beyond, getting into kind of the sort of 30 yards away from the goal and getting the ball. It'd be interesting to see how Alaba and etc. cope with that. I wouldn't mind maybe Lucas Vazquez. I don't know how confident I feel him defending the back post against
not comfortable at all. Not at all.
So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that because who knows? Maybe Manu Sanchez will be popping them into the back post because that could be a weakness for Osasuna to exploit. It definitely does meet their game plan, but I think they just generally they have been very impressive this season. The expected goal difference per 90 is 0.23, which is it's pretty good. That's around the same level as Valencia, obviously above Villarreal, just below Betis and Atleti as well. So that indicates how solid they've been. Really, they have been pretty good at keeping teams out. They have been in some high score games, but I think they definitely one to watch. And I think it'll be interesting to see if Chimi starts, given his goal and his start against Granada. I thought he was very good then, and I think he could definitely be a bit of a menace to Real Madrid's back line. Hopefully.
All right. Yep, it's. I'm sure that this is going to be a good game. Osasuna is absolutely not to be taken lightly. They're currently 6th on the table, and even if Barcelona win their next game, I think they eclipsed them on goal difference, but Osasuna has done fairly good over the first 10 games of the season. That has to be said. Before wrapping up, just want to quickly point out a couple of comments that Carlo Ancelotti made for Real Madrid's number 7, that he is no longer like, now this is just out in the open. There is like no sugarcoating about his stature at the club at this point. Ancelotti was obviously asked that why isn't he a undisputed starter like someone like Benzema, David Alaba, Toni Kroos, Modric, those guys, and Carlo Ancelotti just said that, well, he's a good player, but the coach has to pick a player, and I'm just preferring other players over him at the moment. There's nothing wrong with him. He's even physically fine. He has the qualities, but as a coach, I'm taking a different route. I'm taking a different approach. So I think that's obviously a huge statement to make. It's no longer that he has some kind of discomfort. He'll get his chances. I'm sure he's going to be back to his old form. None of that, those kind of things that was said previously in the season. It's pretty much, stating it directly that Vinicius is up in the pecking order at the moment, and he has to earn his place back in the starting lineup, which honestly I don't see happening in this season. Simply because of the reason that for me to want that, I would have to want that Vinicius's form drops. If Vinicius's form doesn't drop, that doesn't happen. If Vinicius keeps up this form, he has to start alongside Benzema on that left wing. And I would even go on to say that if Gareth Bale comes back, he will be the first man from the bench in the forward line, because Ancelotti's previous report with him, Ancelotti loves Bale, and in the very limited time Bale scored a goal. I mean, like he still contributes in ways that other players could not do in this similar kind of fashion. So yeah, that's pretty much from me, guys. Anything to add for tomorrow's game?
I don't think so.
All right, all good.
Good.
Thank you so much, Michael and Charlie, for joining once again. We had a great episode of the Una Final podcast. I do encourage your listeners to please give us a follow on Twitter and be with us. And there are so many La Liga games involving the big teams happening all around. We'll be back right away with you again. Until then, everyone, please take care and stay